right, here we go. Little mini episode of the Hardline Sports Talk. Not an official one, just what some people have told me to call a Yap session, a Merlo Yap session. We've called it a Merlo Minute. We'll call it a Merlo Yap session tonight because no real episode of the podcast this week. We'll be back next week with some really good stuff, just, the summer and the crazy schedules. But this is just for me. Hop on here, yap a little bit, vent a little bit about things going on. We're going to hit all the sports really in the next 20 to 30 minutes. I hope. Hopefully we don't go over that. But very quickly on the NBA and the NHL, because at this point it's 10:57 p.m. June 13th. It looks as though both of these series in the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals, these are going to be sweeps. And worst case scenario for the NHL and the NBA and ESPN. Really ESPN. So that's where we'll start tonight. We're going to talk about the Yankees and the rest of Major League Baseball. I think Major League Baseball has a serious problem at the moment throughout the league. The Yankees are a juggernaut. We're going to talk about them. The Jets, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, can you have a more polarizing human being than Aaron Rodgers? We'll talk about that, and I will compare him to the other most polarizing, controversial human being in the world today. But let's start here with the NBA Finals very quickly. Game 3 Wednesday night. It looks as though there's a chance for Dallas, right? There's no Porzingis, and you don't know how much time he's going to miss. And you have a chance there. You go on that big 20-2 run, whatever it was. You come back in that game in the fourth, and you have chances to tie and take the lead, and you don't capitalize. And that's the game right there, and ultimately your season and the series. So that series is completely over, right? Boston's going to win. Boston, is it the most unimpressive championship of all time? I don't want to say that. I don't want to disrespect a championship, especially by such a great team, because at the end of the day, it might be unimpressive. The teams they've played might have been banged up. They might not have been the greatest teams, but it's still a championship team, and they're a very, very good team. Jaylen Brown, he's the favorite to win the MVP, rightfully so. I think I saw minus 280 before Game 4, so congratulations to him if he's going to be the MVP. But that series is over, and I have to take a quick look at the hockey score right now. I know that the game is going on at the moment, but ESPN, it's 4-3 right now, a minute to go. I might turn that on really quickly if I can. But ESPN must be kicking themselves, and there's really nothing they can do. They just didn't get the greatest finals in both of these sports. They get both championship series, and you might have a sweep in each. Unbelievably bad luck for the sports and unbelievably bad luck for ESPN. That is just absolutely brutal. As I'm going to try and turn the last few seconds of the Panthers-Oilers game in Canada, in Edmonton right now. We'll see if I can do that. But going back to the NBA very quickly, you have Luka Doncic. He fouls out. Excuse me, I almost said ejected. He gets fouled out. He fouls out of Game 3. And, hold on. I think I got it. I think I got it up. We got it up. Oh, and the Panthers won. The Panthers just won. So the Panthers win Game 3. It's a 3-0 lead. Canada will not win the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup will stay out of Canada for 30 years. Oh, and Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler will no longer fight UFC 303. Dana White announced. So we have all the news right now. But that's my take on these NBA finals. I mean, Luka just looks so bad. The complaining, the fouling out, the bad defense, looking like he's a lazy sack of crap on the court. It's not a good look for Luka Doncic right now, who, listen, as talented as some guys are, we always say, oh, well, they'll get back, right? They'll be back. They're young. They're talented. They're on a good franchise that, on a team that always is competing. They'll be back. You never know when you're going to get back, if you'll ever get back. So for Luka, this is his time. He hasn't capitalized. And this series is very ugly, not only for just this season and losing, but for his legacy. This is not a good mark on his legacy. He had such a great postseason. He talks his talk, man. He could back it up, but he has not been able to back it up here. They're going to lose, and it's an ugly one. It's ugly for the NBA, the NHL right now, as you're going to have basically two sweeps. Enough with them. Let's talk Yankees baseball. Let's talk Major League Baseball. So Major League Baseball has a couple of big problems, okay? Because the New York Yankees this week were going to Kansas City against a team that has been a big-time surprise. They were 13 games over 500. They're facing the Yankees, who have been red hot, but just lost 2 out of 3, just lost their first series in a while the past weekend to the Dodgers at home. No Juan Soto. They're banged up. I think they sit Judge in the first game just for a rest day. And the Yankees, against a team that had the 4th best record in the American League coming into it, embarrassed the Kansas City Royals, and they should have swept them. They blow a game in the 9th. Clay Holmes blows his 4th save of the year in the series finale. They should have won after coming back in the game thanks to Juan Soto. They should have swept them 4 games. They don't. It's truly just unbelievable how good and how strong this Yankees team is. But on the contrary, I'm not saying the Royals are a weak team. I think this is clearly just the Yankees being that much better than everybody in the American League. It's just the fact of the matter that Major League Baseball is a serious problem. Major League Baseball has a lot of bad teams right now. A lot of bad teams right now. I'm going to count right now the teams that are over 500 currently. You have the Phillies, the Braves, that's 2. The Brewers, that's 3. Padres, Dodgers, that's 5. Yankees, Orioles, now Red Sox. What is that? 8. Guardians, Royals, Twins. That's 11. 1, 12. Mariners. You have 12 teams over 500 currently. That is a serious problem for Major. The rest of the league is terrible. The Mets just won a game. They just come back in the 9th. It's a really nice moment. JD Martinez, first walk-off home run of his career, and it means something. The Mets, who come into this game 8 games below 500, they're 3 games out of a wild card spot. Listen, you could tell me that every team having a chance and there being the potential for a really fun race at the end of the year because there's so many playoff spots, sure. But you also have the opportunity for a really bad baseball team to get into the postseason. And this season in the National League, you're going to have that. You're going to have a really bad team get that 6th spot. I mean, do the Giants deserve a playoff spot? The Giants are the most average team in baseball. And with the way they've pitched, they're below average. Their lineup hasn't been great. This is not a playoff team. I mean, look at the National League wildcard standings. Everybody but the Rockies and Marlins are in this thing. This is a serious problem. Look at the American League. I mean, the American League is a little bit better. You have teams that deserve to be there. Obviously, the Orioles are one of the best teams in the league. Second best team in the American League. They're atop there. The Royals. It's a really solid season. Good pitching at the top. Okay. Second wildcard team. They could be fun. The Twins. Okay. You don't have that problem necessarily in the American League. You have it in the National League. The league is so top heavy. So top heavy. And this is a sport where you can see big time upsets in the postseason. You just can. Guys get hot. Pitchers get hot. It's about getting that staff hot and getting big hits at the right time in the postseason. We know how you win. Did anybody expect the Diamondbacks, and you could say the same for the Rangers, to get to the World Series last season? No, they didn't. You didn't expect it. But this season feels a lot different. This season feels like there's 4 teams that can win the World Series, and that's it. And Those four teams are the Phillies, Dodgers in the National League, and the Yankees and the Orioles in the American League. And by the way, if you talk to smart baseball people, at the moment, they'll tell you the Orioles can't beat the Yankees in a 7-game series. I think there's a chance. The Orioles do have, they did beat the Yankees 3 out of 4 in April. I don't really care about that. The Baltimore will add at the deadline. They'll add to their rotation. They'll add to their bullpen. I do believe they can beat the Yankees in a 7-game series. But the problem is you're not going to get a 7-game series because Major League Baseball doesn't reseed in the postseason. So the winner of the division will have the bye. The Yankees, will say the Yankees, who lead right now by, I think, 2.5 games, 3 games, whatever it is, they lead. So the Yankees would get the bye, and the Orioles will have to play in the wild card round. And they'll be the second best team easily in the American League record-wise and on paper and everything, and every which way, they'll be the second best team. They'll play in that wild card round, and they will have to face the Yankees in the second round. You will not get Yankees, Baltimore in the American League Championship Series. You'll get that in the divisional round. And that's a 5-game series. So MLB can't get their heads out of their asses. They should change it now. They should literally go and change that now. So we have the ability to have Yankees, Orioles in the ALCS. We're not going to have it right now because of the rules. But I digress. Baseball has a serious problem because the rest of the league is terrible and none of these teams can stack up. And listen, it makes for a great Final Four, right? If the Yankees and I guess it doesn't make for a great Final Four because of what I just said. You're going to have these teams run through this postseason. That's what's going to happen. Potentially in the National League, you could have Philadelphia and the Dodgers meet in the NLCS, and that would be really exciting. The Braves stink. The Padres wouldn't shock me if they were the team that made the run. But the Braves stink right now. Lose Acuna, it doesn't matter. Riley's not hitting. Riley's been awful this season. They're not hitting. Other than Ozuna in that lineup, they cannot hit. They've pitched well. Chris Sale's a Cy Young candidate in the National League. Ronaldo Lopez has been great. They can pitch a little bit. They haven't been hitting. They have one of the worst offenses in the league since the month of May. So you don't have that usually scary team in Atlanta. The Brewers could be sneaky. The Brewers can ruin some people's years, 100%. But I think this is just, and that's where my money would go, right? Value-wise in the National League, the Brewers are where my money would go. But baseball has a serious problem in terms of how top-heavy the league is and how bad and mid the rest of the teams are in the National League, and even so in the American League. But the Yankees are fun to watch. You know what's really funny? So in 2022, the fan in me is going to come out. So in 2022 was such a fun year here in New York because you had the Mets and you had the Yankees, and they were fantastic. Both of them fantastic. And the Yankees got off to a historic start. The Mets off to a great start as well. Not historic, though. And the Yankees kind of came back to life in July. They were a 500 team the rest of the way. We know what happened with the Mets that year. But the point of me saying that is because the jealousy as a Mets fan watching the Yankees, because we're little brother, 100%. We have to admit it. We're little brother. There was no jealousy. It was fun. The city, it felt great that year. It really did. And Aaron Judge, who I happen to like as a baseball fan, I truly love watching Aaron Judge play. I wanted him to break the record that year. I wanted him to break the American League home run record that season because as a fan, as a diehard fan of the sport, you want to see history. You always want to see history. And so there's no jealousy involved because my team's really good. The vibes were great there, and I want to see history. So there's really no jealousy. And Aaron Judge is on one of those tears right now since May has started where he legitimately looks like the best hitter we've ever seen since Barry Bonds. And it's a little depressing as a Mets fan to watch that on the other side of town with Juan Soto, with how poorly the Mets have played. It's a little bit upsetting. It's like, damn, we can't have that. We'll never have that. And by the way, it's so rare to have a player like that, right? You'll never have a play. There's a really good chance we don't see a player like Aaron Judge again. But Aaron Judge right now, historically, is putting himself in some crazy, crazy categories with some Hall of Famers. It's almost frustrating to watch, to see a player on another team be that good. It's remarkable what he's able to do at the plate. We will absolutely break that down in terms of where he ranks in terms of right-handed hitters, power hitters, players, position players. The counting stats obviously have to go up for him to be. I mean, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer yet. I guess he's getting there. If he retired today, would he be a Hall of Famer? That's a good question. I don't think he has 300 home runs yet. If he retired today, would he be? He's borderline Hall of Famer if he retired today. He's going to get there, obviously, Aaron Judge, but it's remarkable. He is truly unbelievable. And Soto helps, right? Of course, Soto helps. This guy hasn't had real protection in this lineup in a very long time, if not since who? Who has been the real protection for him in this lineup? Stanton? I'm a Stanton guy. Stanton's been great this year. But you haven't had true protection for Aaron Judge in this lineup in a real DJ. Does DJ count those years where he was finishing high MVPs? Maybe. But you can't add a better protection in the lineup than Juan Soto. It's obviously helped. And vice versa. And I did one of these little Yap sessions, I want to say in April. And the Yankees were off to a 5-0 start. And I had mentioned Met fans thinking Juan Soto's going to leave that for Queens, and it's can't be any more true today. If he ever thought he was going to leave, why the hell would he leave that situation? Both players benefit so mightily. It's unbelievable. The Yankees, they're a juggernaut, and they're going to get the best pitcher in baseball back. And Luis Gil's been unbelievable. And shout out to the Yankees and the Dodgers for making last weekend's series feel so great. That was exciting. That was exciting as a baseball fan to be able to watch those games. And the Yankees got some exciting matchups coming up. They have Boston this weekend in Fenway. That's always fun. They have the Orioles coming into town next week. Beginning of the week, I might go to one of those games, and Atlanta coming to town. So some exciting games for the Bronx Bombers as they continue a dream season. We'll move over to football here. No Mets tonight. I mean, for a second, there's a chance, right? I just read you. They're 3 games back. There's a chance they walk-off win tonight. There's absolutely a chance. You can't just not pay attention. You can't just not care. They've played better baseball. 8-4 in their last 12. They're pitching. They've pitched all year. Diaz looked really good tonight in his first return, his first appearance back from the IL. Looked like the Edwin Diaz of 2022. Fastball velocity up. Slider looked good. Who the hell knows? But if he's not right, nothing's right. You're not going to win games. If he is right, you have a chance. You'll get Senga back in a month. Probably after the All-Star break. Definitely after the All-Star break. Severino's been great. McGill's been pretty good. Peterson's been good. You have Scott coming back up at some point. Manaya's been really good. Starting pitching's not the problem. Losing has been the back end of the bullpen and not scoring enough runs. Starting pitching has not been a problem. So for the Mets, there's a chance if some of their veteran hitters can continue doing this. JD Martinez has been unbelievable. Marte has been really good. Lindor has been really good since they moved into the leadoff spot. So again, there's a chance in a bad National League, a weak National League. But we'll just have to wait and see. Moving over to football. Trevor Lawerence gets paid a crap ton of money. I mean, a crap ton of money. 5 years, $275 million. I'm about to pull up the rest of the specifics of this contract. Hopefully X is listening to me as we pull it up. No. Let's see here. Trevor Lawerence. I'll just type it in that report. But how do I want to say this? Quarterback money doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. 5 years, $275 million, $55 million in new money, average on his contract extension. That's from Tom Pelissero. His signing bonus, $37.5 million. $200 million guaranteed. 142 fully. I don't know the difference there. Trevor Lawerence has been a major disappointment. Okay? Major disappointment. Tua Tagovailoa. People hate on Tua. Tua's going to get paid a contract. Probably more than that in the coming weeks. Trevor Lawerence just got paid 5 years, $275 million. Trevor Lawrence's career stats aren't any better than Daniel Jones. People killed the Giants and still kill the Giants for the Daniel Jones contract. And you know what? Jones might be terrible. He might be terrible. But the Giants didn't have a roster to win in 2023. And in 2024, who the hell knows what's going to happen with Jones essentially fighting for his career because they can get out of the worst contract ever given out to a player in sports history after this season. Like, people freaked out about that deal. And it's like, well, look at what these quarterbacks get paid. That's a mid-level quarterback contract now. That's the 13th, 14th, 15th highest paid quarterback in the league. And by the way, let me just say this, Giants fans. Let me just say this, NFL fans. If Daniel Jones shocks the world this season and puts up numbers that we believe are respectable enough for him to be the quarterback of the Giants going into 2025 and 2026, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but the numbers that we lay out, is it possible? Sure. I think we laid them out a few episodes ago. 25 to 27 touchdowns or more, at least 4,000 yards, at least 25 touchdown passes, limit the turnovers a bit, rush for a couple, run for 500 yards, whatever it is. I don't care. Be productive. If he can do that, you're almost on a bargain at this point with the way quarterbacks are getting paid. You're almost on a bargain. If he's able to do that in 2024 and stay healthy, you have a quarterback getting paid what he deserves, which, again, is rare in this league, as we see Trevor Lawerence going to be paid $55 million a year. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. So people talk about Daniel Jones getting paid. People talk about Dak Prescott. Prescott's going to break that, right? Or at least the average annual value, maybe 3-4 years. Prescott will break that a year. Remarkable what these quarterbacks get paid now. And I'm talking to a friend. Tua might not be worth it. Tua's definitely not worth that money. Trevor Lawerence is not worth that money. And Trevor Lawerence feels like a completely different scenario. Let's take the Tua for a second. Tua's going to get paid close to, if not more, than what Trevor Lawerence just got. Right? Is he worth it? No. We know he's not. They'll tell you he's not. But the reason why he'll get paid that contract is because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything in this league. You have nothing. They have to pay him because he's good enough. He's good enough to get you to the playoffs. You don't want to be in quarterback hell. You can survive quarterback hell if your quarterback is decent. He might be being paid too much money, but he's decent. He can play. He can get you to the postseason. You could survive with that. Coaches can survive and keep their jobs. You could sell tickets. You could develop other aspects of your team, and hopefully the rest of the team is able to lift that quarterback that might be being paid a little bit too much, and you have a potential for a winner. Dolphins probably will never win a Super Bowl with Tua Tagovailoa, but they have no choice to pay him $50 million a year. Trevor Lawerence, he's a phenom. Did they have a choice here? Probably not. Probably not. This is a major, major risk, signing him to a 5-year, $275 million extension. A massive risk. But they had no choice. What's your alternative? CJ Beathard? What's your alternative? Quarterback hell. That's not where teams want to be. Hopefully in year 2, he's able to develop a little bit more. Year 2. Year 3 with Doug Peterson, he's able to develop a little bit more. And you start to see the quarterback we thought we were seeing in 2022, which was a guy taking those next steps. Just 2 years ago, we thought we were about to see one of the best quarterbacks in the league fully emerge and fully take those next steps. He hasn't yet. We'll see if he can do that. To Aaron Rodgers we go. I'm trying to think of the most controversial people, most polarizing people. I'm trying to think of the most controversial person, most polarizing person on this earth. And you just list a few names in your head, right? Obviously, number 1 is Donald Trump. Number 1 is easily Donald Trump. I don't know who number 2 is, but I'll throw a name in the category close to it. Could possibly be number 2. I think Aaron Rodgers is up there. I think in sports, Aaron Rodgers is 1. Most polarizing, controversial topics, Aaron Rodgers is number 1. Aaron Rodgers is doing who the hell knows what right now. But he's not at Jets Minicamp, mandatory minicamp. He's not there. And let me start this conversation by saying this. Aaron Rodgers not being at Jets Minicamp, 99.9% most likely will not affect their chances at winning the Super Bowl. It will not matter. I am 99.9% sure of that. It will not matter. But he's like the only projected starting quarterback to not be there. Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee at the end of last season, when that big athletic story from Deanna Rossini came out, he said he wants no more BS in the building. And the Jets are known for BS. We know that. He wants just football, focusing on football in the building. Aaron, couldn't agree with you more. I want to see this Jets team be as good as they can be. I think it would be fantastic for this city. But Aaron Rodgers is now causing the BS, the non-football BS around this team in June, on June 13th. This is Aaron Rodgers' fault here. Aaron, you know when minicamp is going to be. You have dates as to when minicamp is. You know a 2-week span of when minicamp's going to be. For the love of God, could you just be there? You have weeks off before training camp starts after this. Can you just be there? And I don't know where he is. And maybe it will all look like fools. Everybody in the media crushing him, including myself. Maybe we'll look like fools. Maybe he was at something really important. Who the hell knows? But right now we don't know. And it's all speculation. Aaron Rodgers is not with his team. And his teammates say they don't care. Aaron's our guy. He's been at voluntary workouts and he's been here. He's rehabbed. He's a Hall of Famer. He's ready to go. Okay. But don't come to the media and blame them for getting stories wrong and creating fake BS and creating this and this narrative. And you don't know smoke. You want just football in the building. Don't say that when you're the reason for most of the drama around your team. Don't say that. Aaron has proved nothing to this fan base, nothing to this city. Aaron is not this great winner. Okay? You have a coaching staff overall that is on a major hot seat this season. There's a lack of leadership clearly in this building, and you're the guy everybody's going to be looking at late in this season when the Jets are 10-4, hopefully. When the Jets are 10-4 and they're going on a tough road game to go play a tough road game, you're the guy they're going to be looking at. You are their leader. And you're missing. You're AWOL from mandatory minicamp. Aaron's proved nothing to this fan base, nothing to this organization. He's coming off an injury, right? And you're not going to work him too hard off an injury, but don't you just want him in the building? Building even more chemistry with a Mike Williams? Obviously, with Garrett Wilson, he had last offseason. Like, it's not going to affect the team, sure. But how about we add all these other factors into it? That he's the only starting quarterback not there. And don't give me the Tom Brady didn't go when he was in Tampa. Those are two completely different human beings. Two completely different human beings. Tom Brady's entire life was focused on being able to play football, being healthy enough to play football, and his life was football, okay? I'm not assuming Aaron Rodgers, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers doesn't care about football, but Aaron Rodgers certainly has other interests that don't involve football. And they're being tended to right now when he's supposed to be playing football. These are not the same guy. This is not a talent question. This is not who you'd rather have. This is just how these guys are, how these guys are mentally driven. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, not built the same mentally. So Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp, not going to affect the Jets. It's not. Their chances of winning are not going to be affected. But when you already have some questions about leadership in that locker room, when you have questions around other players, Hassan Reddick's a major problem. Hassan Reddick's a bigger problem, right? Bryce Huff leaves for the Jets. You trade for Reddick. Everybody assumes he's going to play on a one-year deal and hopefully get paid in the offseason. Next offseason, not this one. Were the Jets not clear? Was nobody not clear here? Where's the mix-up? What's happening? Where's Joe Douglas? Like, where is Joe Douglas? I don't understand. When the tough questions come, and I've seen this the past couple of seasons too, with Douglas and Saleh. Saleh gets crushed up there. I'm not a Saleh fan. I'm not. He can coach a defense, but being the leader and the face of your franchise, I mean, even handling these questions about Aaron Rodgers, Joe Douglas got to be there. Joe Douglas needs to realize his coach's weaknesses. He cannot be standing in front of the media, in front of the New York media, and answering questions about where Aaron Rodgers is when nobody's telling you and he's not at mandatory camp. You can't have Saleh, who's not good with the media. You can't have him up there. That's number one. Douglas should have been there straightforward. This is what's happening. He's not going to be here. Douglas is better at that. Where the hell is Joe Douglas? Mike Lombardi said today, you can't win without leadership and just overall in the building, things being good and everybody on the same page. And I don't know, man. I want to think differently with the Jets. I want to think differently that this defense with this quarterback and these great weapons on offense, that even if the coach is a little off and he's not there, maybe, possibly, they could do it. I don't know. I still think there is a chance that they can win the Super Bowl, but the coach makes you feel terrible. He does not give you a good feeling about the team. We're a little over 30 minutes here. If you've stayed all the way through, I really appreciate it. We'll be back with episode, I don't even want to say the number because I'm going to be wrong, but the next episode of the Hardline Sports Talk will be in person. We'll be back next week. We're very excited for that. some great new segments JM and I have for you. It's been a lot of fun coming up with these new segments. We did just discuss taking a break in terms of getting new ideas out. We ended up going straight into it, and then we ended up having the break. So either way, we'll be back next week in person. Very excited for that. Make sure you're checking out all our social media pages. Clips from this episode will be out over the weekend and into next week. Very excited about that. So yeah, check out the social medias. We appreciate the following. Subscribe, like on YouTube. We love that. Check out BTO Media, all the stuff there. Subscribe to their YouTube as well. And all of their social media channels will be plugged in there as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.